I want to turn now to Jack Posobiec from One America. Jack, walk us through. You're from Pennsylvania. You're from the Philadelphia area, if I believe I'm correct.
Yep.
Walk me through your assessment today of Rudy Giuliani and what he presented to this group of state senators.
Well, Steve, what was really amazing today with former Mayor Giuliani and then with Colonel Mastriano, what they put together was an evidentiary hearing of witnesses. And these witnesses came forward. And this is something where you could say, oh, I don't know about some of the stuff I'm seeing on Twitter. I don't know about some of the stuff I'm seeing on social media. These were witnesses. They were honest, credible, well-spoken Americans. Every single one of them was a professional. They were all locals, many of them from Philadelphia County, Delaware County, which is just outside of Philadelphia, Montgomery County, where you're going to have Liz Parade-Havey on, who's the chairwoman. Allegheny County. They went state by state, Steve. And this was the first time this has really been done in any of these contested states, where they're not talking about any one specific motion or any one specific lawsuit. What you heard today was the theory of the case. These were people coming forward, aggrieved American citizens, not Republicans, not Democrats, but American citizens coming forward and saying, hey, we got a problem here, and we want our government to listen to it. And by the way, this was a state Senate hearing. I know that Jake Tapper, CNN, other people, Josh Shapiro were saying it was a fake hearing, not a real hearing. This was a legislative hearing of the state Senate Committee on Policy. It was chaired by Senator Argyle. It was called by him. Colonel Mastriano, also as a state senator now for the 33rd District, was presiding over it. And what you saw done was something that the media has not wanted. They've got the wool over their eyes. They've got the hands over their eyes because they don't want the American people hearing folks that are well-spoken professionals talking about the problems that they saw systemic problems in county after county in Pennsylvania.
Well, let's go back to, I want to talk about Rudy and in his open. Walk us through that. How do you think he laid out the things that were to come, and before we get into the details, so walk me through, because there's been some criticism of Rudy. There's been some criticism of some of the legal documents that have been drafted. Some of the complaints has been some complaints from the left about his courtroom demeanor the other day, which I thought was fantastic, but I'm saying what they do, and also the press conference where he had a hair and makeup problem at the end. How'd you think Rudy was today?
Look, Rudy's been saying the same thing that he has said all along. His story has not changed. He said when you dig into the data, when you dig into these numbers, the math doesn't work. The math doesn't make sense. And anybody who stayed up watching television on those nights, you could see on election night, there were people saying the math isn't in Joe Biden's favor. The votes aren't there. The numbers aren't there. There's no way he can overcome this. You don't need to hear Rudy Giuliani. They were all saying it. But Rudy has been the only one who is stuck to his guns on this and says the math still doesn't count. And look, I get it, folks. He has been making some tall claims and tall accusations, but now today you've seen that he's backing it up with witness after witness, affidavit after affidavit, statistical analysis, forensic analysis, people who understand the electronic systems, the same electronic systems, by the way, that the New York Times, the Washington Post, and MSNBC, even John Oliver, were telling us not to trust right up until they did what they wanted.
Very powerful. And people should remember this was curated. This was not all the evidence. They had only a certain amount of time. They literally have dozens and dozens of these things. But this was very curated to kind of hit a highlight reel of like each vertical what they have. But I think this absolutely puts it in question. I don't know how, right, you're going to be able to certify this. And I don't know how a Republican legislature is going to be able to let this go through. Because he's going to back this up. And I think what would be great is have an immediate, like Monday or Tuesday, emergency session of in Harrisburg, and let's get these witnesses crossed. I think they'll stand up great in cross-examination by the Democrats. Obviously, that's going to need to take place. You're also going to need to do that in the courtroom. So time to get it on, because this is incredibly powerful, and they have the receipts everywhere from the data analytics to the actual onto the deck plates itself. And I thought it was very powerful. I think we can actually break something here if it hasn't already broken. I believe that I know Bernie Carrick with some of these senators. I think Rudy's with them or in a car following. I believe they're headed down to D.C. and I think they're going to go see the president. I think they're headed to the Oval to see him. He was that pleased, and you could tell by his voice. He was in for the fight. All of our audience, this is an inflection point. Game on, okay? Rudy had to show up and show some of the evidence. He did. This was a panel. I thought the questions on the panel were fantastic. I thought Colonel Mastriano was terrific. What a sense of 31-year Army veteran, Army colonel, just retired. I think he was up at Carlisle Barracks at the Army War College at the end. Incredibly impressive guy. Everybody there was impressive. And I thought did a good job on the. I thought did a fantastic job on the witnesses.
Yes, Steve,
Jack,
that's exactly right. You can't dismiss what was done today. This was a total game changer. And if the campaign is planning, as we're hearing, that Rudy and Jenna Ellis, the rest of the legal team are going to go state by state with this now, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, right? They're going to go to all of these swing states, Wisconsin, where they've had these discrepancies, and they're going to be working with the state legislatures there. If they can find the right people like Kelly Ward in Arizona locally to step up, this is how you get traction back. This is how you absolutely fight back. You do it through a methodical process, laying out your case. And I think a lot of people who may have been on the fence just swung back into the president's camp today.
We're going to go to a short commercial break. I want to bring you back and actually about some of the individual testimony. But before we go, Josh Shapiro, he had that famous quote, 2 or 3 days before the election, said, hey, when all the votes are counted, Biden's going to win. I mean, he already knew.
He knew the count. He knew the count.
He knew the count.
What
is he doing today?
Count Josh.
What's the big shot doing today on his Twitter?
Oh, up on Twitter today, they're rolling him out and saying, this changes nothing. This is a fake hearing. It changes nothing. The president is calling in a lying cell phone call. He called it a lying cell phone call at a fake hearing. He is spitting mad. He's big mad. Count Josh is big mad.
Biden has to understand something. Nobody thinks he's legitimate now. That's why there's no heat on his this faux administration. This is why nobody's lining up to be Secretary Treasurer. This is why no one's lining up to be Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense. There's crickets. The reason is everybody on their side of the football know that the fix was in. And today you're starting to see the receipts.